Hello YouTubers, I'm going to show you the installation of a fog light kit for a 2010 Toyota Prius. I'm showing here the whole kit, the fog lights, some ties, relay switch and the light switch, plastic housings, replace the false ones. Here I'm showing the false housing, that's going to be removed. You have to remove a plastic cover underneath the nose of the car, about 18 or so bolts and plugs that have to be removed. The worst thing about that is you have to make sure you keep track of where they go. There's kind of two different types of screws in there that have to be put in the right places, so you need to keep track of those. Showing the bolts inside the engine compartment where you have to attach the relays and run the wire into the fuse box. All in all, it's a pretty easy install. Here's the inside of the car with the light switch, with the false one there. It has to be removed above the light level. Took out the false housing. That just pops in after you remove one 10mm bolt and push in some tabs, and it just pushes in. Comes out really easy. And then I'll show you underneath here, and shows you where the area you gotta work in, which is it's pretty accessible. It's not too hard to get at. Pretty open. Once you have that plastic thing removed, you do have to lift the vehicle up a little bit, obviously, because you only have 5 inches of clearance. Just showing you the housings here, that it's obviously marked. One's a left and one's a right. You need to make sure you get the left fog light into the left housing and the right fog light into the right housing. And it's marked on each of them, so you can make sure you get that right. And you can notice the 4 tabs that look like they're mounting screws go into. Actually, once you insert the fog light into the housing, 2 of those tabs just slide into 2 grooves, and then a 3rd one lines up with a screw hole, and it just sits in there like that. One thing I noticed is it doesn't come up quite flush with the housing edge. A little gap in there. I don't know if that's by design or what, but you just really need to put in the 1 screw and tighten that up, and that holds the fog light into the housing. So there I have it installed, just mounted in the vehicle. The 1 10mm bolt holds it in there. I'm showing here with it installed. Plug is pointing straight down there, so it's pretty easy just to slide it in. So the next step is to move inside the vehicle and start removing the some of the molding and the panel to get access to the wiring where the fog light's going to be attached. Got to remove a little plastic screw-off cap that's right in the floor, up in the high on the carpeting. So you can see the bolt there, and there's the screw where the hood release lever is attached, so that needs to be removed so that panel above can be taken off. And then you also need to remove the hood release cable, which is the black cable going into the white harness. It's pretty easy to remove the cable. You just pull down on it, and once it's cleared of the white, the black wire is clear of the white housing, you can just slide it to the left and it pops right out. So once that cable is released, you want to just pull on that panel. This is probably one of the difficult parts, because you just got to make sure you don't pull too hard, and like there you see it snap off. You got a lot of wires attached there and you don't want to break the connections, so you have to make sure you pull gently, but you need to use quite a bit of force to get it to pop off. Then there's two other screws for the panel right above the brake pedal. Not sure if you really needed to take this off, but it just gives you easier access to the boot where you need to run the wire through. Two screws that hold that on, and then there's a center tab there you see that you have to press down, and then it pops off. Of course, there's wires attached to this too. Oh, and I have a plug into my port there for my scan gauge too. So here's the wires behind the switches. You're going to be running a new wire into here. There's the ground bolt that you need to attach a wire to, the ground wire. Showing you again there. And then there's the wire going back through the V channel. You just push that up through in there, run it down so you can get access to it. The next thing you're going to need to do is to locate the wires that you're going to tap into. You can see the little black electrical tape covering those wires. You need to strip a little bit of that off so you can get better access to one of the wires. You're looking for the brown wire. It's a light brown. That red wire that's in the new wires for the fog lights has to tap into that wire. So kind of scary doing that, but it's pretty easy. You just get that brown wire separated out. They give you plenty of lead on the red wire. You need to cut some of that off. Then you use this little red thing. You wrap it around the existing brown wire, slide it into the grooves, and making sure you got plenty of slack there for the brown wire to fit that little case in there. Then you run the red wire through, making sure you have plenty of slack on that too. And then you can just cut off the excess that's hanging through there with my fancy wire cutter, which I don't have. Use the pliers then to crimp that closed. It snaps shut. You want to make sure you press firmly enough into the center of that so it makes contact with the wires. If you don't get a good contact there, your fog lights will not work. Attach the ground. And that's the only two wires that need to be attached on the front here. You see the green plug there is the plug that will go into the switch. Now I'm going to replace the false cover with the fog light switch. There's two press tabs that you have to press in, and then that pops out. Once you slide that false plug out, you can slide the switch that came with the kit into that hole. The switch goes in basically the same way as the plug. It's kind of the exact same thing. Just the only thing you want to do is make sure you get it oriented in the right way, and you don't want to push down on it because the switch actually is a push switch, so you're going to have to pull from the inside to make it snap in, which is not too bad. And you can test the switch a little bit, just for the fun of it. So then plug the green clip there into the switch. Goes in one way, snaps in, and you can reattach the other wires back to the cover. And just gonna have to kind of leave that hanging there, and I kind of put it half in just to get it out of my way so I could work underneath the vehicle. But other than that, that's everything you need to do to get the wiring done at the end of where the switch is. So the next thing is probably the most intimidating part of the project, and that's to put a hole through a boot there. I'm going to zoom in to the spot where you need to run the wire through, so you can see the black boot. That's where the wire is going to come through from the engine compartment. You need to use a coat hanger and make a little hook into it. The first thing you need to do is to punch a hole, though. Use a little awl or a punch or something to put through, and then you can push the coat hanger that I have in my hand here and work it through the hole that you punched in. Didn't show you punching the hole because I couldn't fit the camera in, get enough leverage that I needed to inside the vehicle, so I couldn't show you that. But you can see I'm pushing the coat hanger through the hole. Just want to make sure you don't punch too big of a hole, that you leave enough, make it small enough so that it seals pretty good all around it. Now we probably move to the engine compartment to grab that wire and see if we can find it there, and you can see it sticking up. So you just pull that in and then make the little hook on the end that you're going to attach the wire to pull it through the housing. I'm kind of yanking to give me some lead. So you bend the coat hanger into a loop. Important thing is to try to get it small enough so that you're and flat enough so that it's gonna come through as one whole sliding piece. You don't want it to get caught or wedged in there. And the little hook you make on the coat hanger then just slides into the little cap on the wire, and I just crimped it down a little bit to make sure it was flat. And So that's once that's attached, then you want to use some electrical tape and wrap the electrical tape around that whole joint to make it one smooth wire to slide through the boot. So here I'm showing inside the car with a black wire coming through the boot. And that wire is going to need to run along with that plastic tubing and be tied up into there. And so here on the left is the wire coming down from the switch. The right is the wire from the engine compartment. Those two just need to plug in together. And then you'll need to tie that up to that black tubing to make sure it stays up and snug away from your feet and hidden away nicely. So next we're going back to the engine compartment to attach the relay and wire the rest of the fog lights. The red wire needs to run down along that black wire and up through the opening underneath the fuse box there where the white wire comes up through. And once you have that up through that channel, you can plug it in just to the upper right of where the white wire comes in. There's really just one post there above the white wire that needs to that's available to plug that into, and it just snaps right down in there. And you can push the red wire along next to the white, fit in there snugly. And here's the lights after I had them installed. You can see they're actually pretty good. Make quite a difference. They go on independently without the lights being on. You can have the brights on or the standard lights, and the fog lights will go on. I know some of my truck, I know that you can't have the fog lights on with the bright lights on, which is kind of annoying. But these are pretty independent. Here's a little driving test of what it looks like with the fog lights. You can see I'm switching them on and off there. Provides quite a bit of extra illumination down by the road and into the ditches, which is exactly what I was looking for. I think at one point here I actually turned the headlights off and just had the fog lights on just to see how much they illuminated without the lights on. And it's actually pretty good. There I turned the headlights off and then just running with the fog lights. So even just the fog lights alone, it provides quite a bit of light. And so that wraps up the installation. Hope you found this useful. Talk to you later.